It's a great segue going from talking about enterprise productivity to our next set of speakers, our IA40 winners, who are going to be talking about how they're improving productivity at the application layer. By the way, for those that don't know me, I'm Vivek Ramaswamy. I'm one of the partners here at Madrona. It's my pleasure to introduce our next three speakers. We're going to start with David Shim, who's the co-founder and CEO of Read AI. This is a company that's building a next generation meeting, note-taking, and productivity tool. We've been very lucky to partner with David and the team there from the very beginning. Then we're going to hear from Waseem Alshikh, who's the co-founder and CEO of Writer. This is a company that's building a full-stack enterprise AI platform, very much focused on the enterprise. And what's interesting is many of the customers that Writer works with are here in the room today, too. And then finally, we're going to hear from Joseph Larson, who's the SVP and Chief of Staff at Anduril, which I'm sure many of you have heard about, at least maybe heard about in the news or heard about in other places, but it's going to be great to hear from him because they're really building the defense company of the future, much of it using next generation AI techniques. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to David. Thanks a lot.
Excited to be here. And thanks for including us in the IA40. For everyone who voted for us, really appreciate it. If you didn't vote for us, you probably don't know us. So let me walk you through what we do at Read AI. So right now, we're at the age of the AI assistant. So what's an AI assistant? You all know that. I'm not going to go into details. But at a very high level, where we play in the AI assistant space is meetings. And what we do is we join the meeting. We notify all the users that we're measuring the call. We give you the ability to opt out. But after that step is complete, we start to generate a transcript. With that transcript, we create a summary. We create action items, key questions. We create automated highlight reels that you can share with your team where a 2-hour call is now a 30-second clip or a 3-minute kind of ESPN highlight reel. And we do this all pretty well. And the reason why we think we do it pretty well is that 45% of the Fortune 500 use us in the last 30 days. We have an 81% retention rate. When someone comes in and creates an account and uses us in a meeting, 81% of them are still around 30 days later, not just with an active account where it's like, hey, they have an account, they haven't deleted it yet. We're actually going in and measuring meetings for them on a regular cadence. This metric I think we're really proud of is we have over 500,000 new accounts that have been created in the last 30 days. We spent zero on marketing. Our marketing team is me. We've got zero in terms of cost per acquisition because we don't spend anything on any of these search engines or the social networks, LinkedIn, et cetera. This is just PLG motion in the purest sense, where people see the report, they share it with other people, and then they create an account. And then our growth is about 22% month over month. So to give you an idea, since this slide was created, we're now pacing for about 700,000 new accounts in the next 30 days. So we will be one of the biggest consumer AI companies out there in about 3 to 6 months from a new user perspective. That is not an actual platform. And then from a growth perspective, where have we come from? So back in 2023, at the start of the year, we were the number 20 meeting note taker. You've heard of all the other people out there that do meeting notes. You probably use some of these other solutions. Definitely try Read. But where you see the value proposition is our ability to actually create better meeting notes than anybody else. And the way that we do that is not because of just a great prompt and the newest large language model, but what we're actually going in and doing is we're actually taking a multimodal approach. So yeah, transcripts, commodity. The ability to prompt those transcripts, commodity. But the ability to see how people react to the words that are said. So if I look out in the crowd right now, most people are looking up. If you were all looking down, I would say, hey, engagement is low in this meeting. David needs to spice it up a little bit. But right now, everyone is kind of paying attention, really appreciate it. And so that ability actually goes in and says, hey, now I know what's really interesting to the crowd. I'm going to move that up in the summary versus where I'm talking about my dog and I had to take it for a walk and you're doing the stuff where it's like, oh, you moved to a new city. We're going in and we're actually taking that stuff out and we're prioritizing the things that are most important to you. So that's where we're really different from a large language model perspective. It's because we're using a multimodal approach. So we went from the number 20 at the start of 2023 to the number 2 note taker as of June. I think in the next 6 months or less, we should be the number 1 meeting note taker in the space. So notes have been great for us. It's been a great market usage perspective, but we're also getting paying customers. So Ramp just came out with a support for the first half of 2024. And they said, hey, who's the fastest growing AI vendor when it comes to SMBs, specifically large SMBs and mid-markets? Read is number 5 and number 6. So we were never on this list as of 2023. 2024. We're on this list. We expect probably to go a little bit higher soon. And then we're a little bit different in terms of like, we don't care if you actually consume the data on our platform. We want to push it wherever you work. So we will send that to HubSpot. We will send that to Salesforce. We'll send it to Slack. We'll send it as an email. All of those places are fine with us because we want to change the way that you work in the sense of you have to come to read for all the information. We want to work within your existing workflow. And that's where we've seen the success. Where we're going to next. So that's the age of assistant. You all know this. Agents we talked about, employees. So it's really the AI employee. And when I say AI employee, an assistant goes in and writes down notes. They take a transcript. They might send it to some people. That's an assistant. Where the AI employee comes into play is they're taking the meeting, but they're also taking the emails that happened before and after. If you've ever pitched a VC, you go and you get an email from the VC. You say, hey, let's schedule a meeting. Can you send me some pre-information? You send that over. You have the actual meeting. They have a couple follow-up questions. You ask your team questions on Slack to say, hey, we need those revenue numbers for 2025. The margins don't look great. Let's make some adjustments. And then you have a follow-up meeting as well as a deliverable to the VC. Well, right now you have to go from a summarization standpoint to multiple places to look at each one of those summaries and bring them together. Where the senior employee or the AI employee comes into play is it will go in and actually identify all the topics that are related to that pitch to a VC. It will then go in and create a series of items where it says, what are the action items? What are the next steps? What are the key questions that were asked? And we'll actually go in and identify the answers, and not just the answers that come up randomly, but the answers that got the highest engagement, the lowest sentiment. So you can actually go in and see what was most important on the call, not what was the first question that was asked. What we're doing now, if you go to Read AI or if you go to the Chrome extension store and you download the Read AI Chrome extension, we just turned this on yet last night. What you can do is actually, we'll go into Gmail and we'll actually summarize your emails. So we'll go in and we'll say, hey, you're in Gmail. We won't make you come back to our site, but within the experience of Gmail, you'll see right at the top, key takeaways from that email string. It could be 500 pages, it could be 5 pages, but it's going in and summarizing that. And yeah, Gemini is going to do that. Copilot does that today. That's all fine. But we're going in and we're making it available to all users at no cost. So you just turn it on, it's available. But where it gets really interesting is the readouts. The report that I showed you previously, the ability to pull down all of that content. Now what we're doing is we're going in and saying, here's a summary of the topic as a whole, not just within the email, but across multiple platforms. And what you see there is Slack and Microsoft Teams. Well, with Slack, we're actually connected. We're doing a summary there. We've mapped it back to the email. And now in line, you're actually seeing that that Slack message as an email. So now within Gmail, you could see a full thread where it might be 60 different interactions, 5 different platforms. You have it all in one place where you can consume that content. So again, this is where you're working. We're showing you this as a threaded email within Gmail. Where we're going to go in Q4, probably early November, is autocomplete. And we've talked about this. A lot of folks have talked about the concept of autocomplete. But the difference here is we're pulling from multiple data sources. So we're not just going in and saying, hey, here's your email, here's how you responded to things. We're actually going in and saying, hey, you just had a call. You get an email from a client that says, hey, what's the latest on this project deliverable? I don't know the answer, but if I have meetings that I have access to, it's going to pull in and say, oh, actually, you missed that meeting, but you sent Read in your place. We can actually complete that to say, hey, that project's going to be done on January 14th. So now all of a sudden you skip the steps of, hey, asking your team, I missed that call. Can you give me an update on where this is at? It will go in and actually draft that email up for you. And of course, she'll make some edits, she'll put it in your own voice, but it's pulling in that content in real time to make your workflow easier. Where we're going next, it's the age of optimization. So this is where we have all the data. How do you optimize against that data set? So one is multiplayer. Multiplayer is the ability to share data with your coworkers, with your team, with other people that you maybe are working on the project that aren't even in your organization. But the ability to share individual reports, to share meetings, to share messages, that actually gives you the ability to not only create an action item list, but actually knock it off the list to say, this is completed and John did that, or Susan finished that project up, and actually auto-update it in real time before anybody has time to email you. The same goes for key questions. If you have a question in meeting that comes up for a project, we'll now go in and pull in from HubSpot. This was the best answer because it actually helped close that deal with that client. Then next is content generation. So it's going in and saying TikTok, but for your work, for your interaction. So how do you actually feed data to you that is of interest? So I can give you all your emails, summarize them, give you recaps. Those are great. But what if I actually have team members that are on the sales organization where they're having separate calls? Now it's going to identify content to me that says, hey, this is a common question that is coming up from your prospects where they're complaining about this lack of this feature. And I'm not in any of those calls, but Reed will go in and say, you care about things where it's product features where the customer may not buy the product. We're going to give you that content so you can discover it. And then the next step is actually making recommendations against that. So do you want to update that Salesforce opportunity? Here's the reference data. Hey, we think the client is at risk because the client just got off call and their engagement rate was really low and the sentiment was low. So what do you do then? So we're excited about the future of AI. Specifically, we're focused less on chat and search and really more about delivering recommendations and discovering content. And in early 2025, we're going to release an enterprise discovery product, which is going to identify content across your organization, across your team, and deliver recommendations against that. Thank you.
There you go. Hello, everyone. My name is Waseem Alshikh. I'm the co-founder and CTO at Writers. So start me with a quick introduction about actually what's Writer. Writer, the way we started the company in 2020, we think about it as the story of the transformer. We started building our own model in the early 2020. And by increasing the capability of those models, we started adopting this capability to the products that end up basically having our writer moving from the V1 that we know in the early days, like in editing and writing assistant, to literally today what we do at Writer, we provide literally full AI studio and the way you can actually writing full software. Today, Writers, we serve more than 300 plus AI customers across financial services, healthcare, CPG, retail, and this is a few logo from our customers exist today. And when you talk about the enterprise, especially in 2024, we're hearing a lot about, 2024, it's a year when we get the value from the AI. It's a way when you see the result. But we're not seeing that. What we're seeing is really underwhelming. We see the solution for enterprise specifically. There are options coming with either a co-pilot when actually very limited impact, which is still okay, by the way. Like Copilot can do amazing stuff. Those concepts, one can summarize your email, shorten your text, but going to more complex cases, it starts getting really hard. And we hear this again and again and again from every customers. The low accuracy always been the biggest issue. Today, building app, and I believe most of you have the experience with an AI application, it's very straightforward most of the time. To get them run, to have the POC, to see 75% accuracy. Now, taking this stuff to production, show me the 90 plus accuracy, this one actually challenges that will be increased. The same stuff coming to the adaptation. We'll see a lot of customers try to build those apps, even increase them, send them to their own users. Adaptation is very low, is very limited. And this is across the board from almost every customer we have today. And also we start seeing a lot of enterprise, I believe most of you are familiar with this actually flow. They try to build their own, and it's not as straightforward. A lot of tools, most of them is still in experiment stage, not sustainable, and a lot of work. And also we find our customer telling us, this is not my core business. I have my engineers, I have my teams. I want them to work on my own product. I want to serve my customers, not build third-party products. So all of this resulting today, and we're still seeing it to something in the data we see today, most enterprise customer is still at the stage of experiment. Slowly they're moving to implementing some use cases. Those numbers increase, but scale, it's still hard. Across the board, we mentioned here 6 key challenges. I can count another 20, but start with the fragmentation of the whole stack around it. Start with stability, staff limited support. The lack of ROI is one of the biggest challenges we see today with the enterprise. And all of this coming, we love to this chart because what we know about the enterprise after working with them for the last 4 years, the cases when you get the most or the highest value is actually the one require the highest complexity and the most accurate. And all those come in the top, they come in that area. And LLM itself is now going to solve it. You will need more. And this is what we basically mean by our approach. We start increasing this approach in early 2021 by introducing something called full stack. This is why we love to call it the dominant design. We will love other people to copy it, scale it. And the idea behind it, that we will take the LLMs, the RAG, the IRAs, all of it fully integrated, optimized, and ready to use. Not a bunch of tools that fragmented, distributed, that we're expecting the customer to go figure it out, to tune it, and experiment with it. We experiment with actually something more stable. If you reflect this to actually what we have today, this is Writer. So in Writer, we have our own family of models. We call them Palmera. We've been building those models since 2020. We have around 16 of those integrated and implement full capability with Knowledge Graph, which is our RAG system. And this basically helping a lot for our customer to integrate their knowledge across the organization. I will talk about knowledge here. We'll not talk about connect to my Google Drive or SharePoint. This is cool, amazing. But you will need the other knowledge. You need the knowledge that inside the company structure. If you expect to create high advanced accuracy AI app that really give you ROI, you need to give them the existing knowledge across the whole organization. This knowledge exists not just in one system, in multiple systems, and need to be fully integrated. So we have the models, we have the AI RAG system, in this case will be Knowledge Graph, fully also integrated with AI guardrails, because sometimes something simple as basically condition or rules and need to be applied. And all of this presented to our customer, what we call it basically the AI Studio. So AI Studio basically is the tools that fully integrated with everything you can see in the top and can help you creating those apps. Now, when you put all of this together and start working with the amazing customers, you start seeing them building the app. And this is the cool part. This is actually a screenshot from real app built by our own customers. And as you can see here, in this use case, is not a chat app. And this is beauty. Not everything needs to be conversation style. Could be just simple form. Could be, sometimes you could need a chat, you still can create it. Or sometimes could be actually more complex. You need more advanced design to see sources around it. So regardless what the experience you want to deliver, you still can build it with our AI Studio, which is no code for business users. And we have the framework for more advanced users. But this is still not enough in enterprise, because you have the whole platform integrated, give you the accuracy. You have a way to create different user experience for adaptation, but you still need to take those apps to the environment when user can use it. And this is what you start working on it next. When you're building those apps, you can actually deploy them. You can deploy them inside your Slack. You can embed them in your website. Or when you go with the more complex use cases, the advanced real use cases. You remember the chart when you talk about the high accuracy complexity? We'll go something more like this. You start seeing customer asking to deploy the whole app, multiple of those apps, 100 in some cases, to be deployed in their own data center, their air-gap deployment, something more single tenant. Some customers say, can I take it completely to my own cloud account? And all of this basically part of our solution today. So you get the low code and no code, you create your app, all the large language models, Rails, RAG system, Knowledge Graph, fully integrated and bundled, and you can just deploy them in one place without worrying about the details. The way our customers think, and we introduce writers, is basically we love to be more time to value is really high, but at the same time, you have the depth. You can build those apps, you can make it complex use cases, you can go into details, not just with chat style or Copilot. You can have those one, but you can have multiple integrated, multiple steps. And again, go back to this. So writers today, the most valuable places when we see we add really value, when you start working basically in that top right square, you can see it there. We need to help enterprise to see the ROI, to actually see implementation, to how you adopt AI across the org. And this is, again, require high accuracy and complexity, which we try to abstract with our AI platform. Now, this image is not moving, but is more some screenshots here. To give you a really quick example, I'm run out of the time here, but this is a screenshot from the system with our customer building it. This is something actually from real customer and insurance, when literally a human just write instructions, and what you need just normal instruction We create the app, we deploy the app, we secure it. In this case, they take police report, insurance policy, and the AI can analyze it real time. Thank you so much.
Hello, everyone. I'm Joe Larson. I'm the SVP and Chief of Staff of Anduril Industries, here to talk to you a little bit about our company. So lots of companies have a mission statement. I'll say at Anduril, our mission statement is one we take quite seriously. It's to reboot the arsenal of democracy. Anduril was founded in 2017 and it had a three-part thesis, which we believe has really been borne out and validated by the last 7 years. The first part of the thesis is that critical and emerging technologies would change the character of warfare and the way warfare is fought, by which I mean things like robotics, sensors, cyber, artificial intelligence, ubiquity of space-based assets. We've certainly seen that play out, and I'll discuss that a little bit. The second part of our thesis was that the traditional defense establishment, by which I mean the government and the primes or traditional companies that have delivered and really run the market for the last 80 years, were unprepared to deliver on these advancements in technology. The third part of the thesis is that while defense work and national security work certainly isn't for everybody, nor should it be for everybody, there's a willing group of innovators out there who did not have a home and needed a home in a modern technology company to apply their skills to advance national security. So on that three-part thesis in 2017, Anduril was founded. What we look at today is that in this period of intense technological growth, the warfighters, our soldiers, our sailors, our airmen, our Marines, are defending the country with pre-internet technology and technology that's not up to snuff. One thing that we've observed about history is that civilizations largely sustain when their sources of national security power are aligned to their sources of cultural and economic power, and conversely, they fall when that's not the case. I mean, the Romans, for centuries, managed to maintain an empire on the back of advancements in roads and currency. The British, the Dutch, the Spanish were able to leverage naval power for both merchant trade and for military aims. And the United States was able, for a period of time during the Cold War, to maintain military supremacy because of our advancements in things like industrial capacity and manufacturing. That's the past. Where are we at today? It's 2023. I would argue that when you look at the United States, we're largely a digital economy, both culturally and economically and culturally a digital nation. Our largest market capitalization companies are digital firms. And I think, in the speeches today, this kind of bears out with this audience where we've seen a lot of companies, and I imagine many of you, I didn't hear a lot of discussion about the national security market as a sought after customer. Some cases it's probably seen as not relevant, and others is hard to break in. So I think that reflects what we're seeing, which is there's a lack of alignment, and that plays out with the type of technology that's available to our warfighters. So what are we trying to do? We're trying to build an environment in Anduril that combats this. So we were founded in 2017, and we're a product company. Our objective is to build modern systems for the Defense Department that use these critical technologies to advance the way warfare is fought. I'll take you through a very short case study. Obviously, the last couple of years, it's hard to talk about advances in warfare without talking about Ukraine, this laboratory of warfare innovation. And despite, the tremendous human suffering that's occurred there, we'd be remiss if we didn't try to learn the lessons about the way war is fought. What did we see in Ukraine? In 2021, in advance of the invasion of the Ukraine, the conventional sentiment is that the Russians would dominate. The Russians had just spent many decades on a multi-billion-dollar recapitalization campaign for some of their equipment. They had modern generation 4++ aircraft and jets. They could hold multiple targets at risk. They had advanced main battle tanks. They had the most advanced sensors. They had extensive land and sea equipment. They had a powerful navy. And, the analysts at the time basically said Russia, because of these advancements, would quickly roll over the material poor Ukrainians. The Ukrainians had not invested in a new jet since the 1990s, right? That was sort of a nature of the analysis of warfare that's based in the way war is traditionally fought, which is the assets that are the most sophisticated, the most expensive, the most capable, dominate in the battlefield. And that was largely the theory that many people had going in. We show a couple sources where, much of the analysis said that because of this material advantage, the Russians would walk into Ukraine and their investments in this exquisite and sophisticated military technology, which, by the way, they had both in terms of quality and in quantity, would dominate the weaker Ukrainians. We've seen that that's not the case. I don't know if we can play this video in the bottom corner. I know there may be some video challenges, but what we show here, if we can click this really quickly. No luck. Okay. What we see here, this is 21 February. This is in a place called Avdiivka in southern Ukraine, Donetsk province. And here the Ukrainians are taking a first-person view drone, an FPV-2 drone called an OWA, one-way attack drone, where they arm the drone with a set of munitions. They fly it using cell phones and other drones as repeaters. And here they went about 10 miles into Russian territory. They literally flew them into a hangar, and they knocked out about $10 million of this exquisite Russian equipment. And this is a vignette I pulled off of YouTube. Frankly, there's hundreds, if not thousands of these videos out there. So I don't necessarily need to describe this in detail, except to tell you that all of the expensive military equipment in the world is just a pile of metal on the ground when you're able to sneak in a drone with ammunition and take it out. So while the drone story is one story of the way the Ukrainians innovated, there's lots of other stories in terms of the way they were able to use space-based assets, sensors, advancements in communications. They were able to protect their signatures, and they were able to launch attacks on the Russians, which have largely turned that conflict into what we have today, which is equivalent of World War I trench warfare, where neither side has a material advantage. Another great example of this is the Russian Navy. I think you're all tracking. The Russian Navy has largely been degraded, even though the Ukrainians had no Navy at the start of the war because of the use of autonomous and small naval assets to take out the more exquisite Russian naval craft. So what are we building at Anduril? We're building a set of defense technologies. This should play, hopefully, a set of defense technologies that are built for this modern set of warfare technologies. So we build no crewed systems. All of our systems are uncrewed, by which I mean there's no people. We build a number of different products. I'll walk you through a few. But the feature of all of these systems is that they're built on a specific approach. They're software first. So we invest really heavily in the underlying data architecture, the software libraries, the autonomy libraries, the artificial intelligence, the mesh networking, the sensor fusion that goes into these systems. So our software really provides the core. Then we are able to apply that across domains. So we can work with systems that operate under the sea, in the air, on land, in cyberspace, or in space in order to deliver advantage. So our main principles, the way we operate the company is we follow the following model. We work on this software first. We build systems that are cheaper. They're able to be reproduced using commercial parts. So we don't invest in really exquisite and expensive unique sensors. We take what's off the shelf so we can mass produce, and then we sell them to the government using a new business model for government acquisition that isn't based on the number of hours you bill on the development of your technology. These are some of our products. I'll walk you through really quickly. This is an example of one. We have a company called Dive. They build an autonomous underwater system. This is a project we're doing with the Australians where we're building a school bus size underwater system, 60 feet long by 10 feet wide. And the Australian Minister of Defense announced last year that they were pleased we had delivered the system on time, actually 1 year early and on budget, which in the world of major defense procurement and weapon systems is largely unheard of. We're moving into the space of larger scale autonomous aerial systems. This is one called the Loyal Wingman. This is the Air Force's first award of what they call an F-Series aircraft. So we've heard F-15, F-16, F-Series aircraft to a non-traditional, a non-prime since the 1970s. We were awarded this contract in 2023, and we're moving into prototyping on this. And then this is the Roadrunner. This one should play. This is a reusable vertical takeoff and landing. It can provide air defense. It can act as a surface-to-surface or surface-to-air munition. It operates with jet fuel. It's reusable. And it's much cheaper than the alternatives that you'd buy from the traditional defense establishment. So just giving you a quick view of some of our products. I mentioned our software. At the core of everything we do is our underlying software architecture we call Lattice, which is our set of libraries, our set of autonomy libraries, AI libraries, computer vision models, sensor fusion models, sensor control. The number of software packages fuse that. And so we have a fairly large, sophisticated platform team. And with that technology, we're able to sort of adapt to the different domains and physical environments in which our systems deploy. We also mentioned we're building for production. We're proud to announce with our latest raise, our Series F, we're going to be investing in a major push in terms of production building a world-class production facility where we can produce thousands of these systems to meet the needs of the Defense Department, which Ukraine has borne out that quantity matters in terms of being able to build credible technology that deter an adversary. Finally, we use a business model that challenges the traditional model of defense. We have up here the way that traditional defense works. The major primes invest very little in their own R&D and products. They really sell hours on cost-plus contracts, and then they build the most complicated systems. The average delivery time is actually 11 years for a major weapon system. We're challenging that, where we're saying, we're going to invest in the IRAD. We'll build the prototypes. We'll use software as the baseline for our systems, and then we sell them to the government in a firm fixed price model. And we do it so we're able to repeatably produce and deliver them in months. So the incentives are really there for the government to come to us rather than get a bloated and expensive system. I'll conclude by saying the mission here is not actually warfare, it's deterrence. In order for deterrence to work, it has to be credible, which means you have to have a defense establishment that's armed with the best technology. So our mission here is to make a dangerous world safer by getting the technologies that will deter conflict. I'm a Marine, 23 years in the Marine Corps. I've served multiple combat theaters, and I can tell you, nobody wants to go to war. The mission here is to build a strong national defense so that we can avoid having that happen. So we're really proud of our mission, and we're excited that you were all willing to spend 10 minutes learning about it today. So thank you very much.